But this is in the background. Okay, you know what I want to talk about?
What?
Maybe on Popcats? Growing up as a mixed child.
Okay, what do
A
you
little
have to say
background about
about
my
it?
parents.
What do you have to say about growing up as a mixed child?
Okay, so I'm going to close my eyes because it's easier to think. So, my parents met in like 1938. They were married by 1940, November 1st to be exact. And because of the color of my mother's skin and her blue eyes, they could not find a pastor or a minister in this town that would marry them. But one day, I think he was from down south, Reverend Ball. Reverend Ball agreed to marry my parents in 1940. So there we go. CJ was born in 1942. My mom was she was born in, she was 17 when she got married. So she had CJ when she was like 19. And and then 2 years later, well, okay, my father got drafted, or he signed up for the draft in 42, went off to war, okay. My grandfather had something was going on down south in North Carolina where, they lived, because my mother was dating this guy named Nathaniel way before she met my dad. So my uncle, I mean my grandfather, Pearlie, sent my mother, the youngest sibling, which is my aunt Geneva, and my uncle Robert up here. So to keep my mother and Nathaniel apart. My dad went off to war in 42. In 44, Jimmy Lee was born. Jimmy Lee Nash, my half brother. And so my dad came home, okay, yada, yada, yada. 1946, Eric was born. Okay, all mixed kids. I don't know what Nathaniel looked like. I would have liked to have seen a picture of him to see what he looked like. But I never got the picture. Jimmy Lee had my mother's blue eyes. He's the only sibling that has blue
Is
eyes.
Jimmy Lee still alive?
No, he died in the early 2000s. So he died. Everyone's dead except for Judy and I.
So, altogether, how many siblings did you have?
Six or
Six,
five. Five.
five others.
Mm-hmm.
So, who's still alive out of the five?
Judy, my older sister.
How old is she?
She's 74. She was born in 1950.
And then you're alive.
And I'm alive.
And when were you born?
1968.
And then who was the last one that died?
No. The one.
Who was the last person that was alive out of your siblings?
The last person.
Yeah, like when was
who died the most recent?
Yeah.
Eric.
When did he die?
I think it was like 2015, 2016.
How old was he?
Flag Day.
When
he
died?
Born in 46, so he was 70? 71? 70? Yeah, 70, 71. He was definitely out of his 60s.
Okay, who was the next recent?
That would be Jimmy Lee.
And how old was he?
Like 2000, 2001.
How old was he?
So he was born in 44, 56. So he was in his late 50s.
He died young?
He died young.
How did he die?
He had emphysema, severe diabetes. When I met him, the two times I met him, I always wondered why he was missing a couple of fingers from the diabetes.
Oh, is this the half Indian?
That's the half brother, yes.
So what was his race?
I never met Nathaniel.
No, but what was it? What would his race have been?
Half Native American and mommy Irish.
And mommy was just straight up pure Irish?
Irish, and she's also from Grandpa Chavis. He's Portuguese, and her mother was full blood Irish. But
so your mom is half Irish and half Portuguese.
No, she's half Irish, a quarter Portuguese, and a quarter Native American.
So your mom is a quarter Native American as well.
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm an eighth.
And then she got with a guy that was full-blooded Native American.
Who? My mom?
Yeah.
No, Daddy was.
No, Nathaniel.
Oh, Nathaniel. Yes, he must have been
Full-blooded, right?
Mm-hmm.
What tribe? Lumbee?
Lumbee.
Okay, out of North Carolina.
They probably met when they were on the reservation.
That's eastern North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Lumbees.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
reservation.
I've met them before. Saw a couple Lumbees. All right, so this kid, Jimmy, he was half plus. God, your mom is officially half Irish and half Portuguese, or quarter. So that's 0.25. So Jimmy was 0.75 Native American.
3/4, and a quarter.
And a quarter European.
Eastern European.
Split 12.5% between Irish and Native American. So he was basically like 3/4 Native.
Yep.
And then, all right, so he died. So he was a drinker and he fucked his body up and had diabetes. Okay, that's a sad story.
Well, no.
And he didn't have his mom? He didn't have his mom in his life.
No, there's a backstory to that too, if I could get into that. Well, okay, so Jimmy spent 26 years of his life in prison for robbing a bank somewhere in New York. 26 years in prison. And he would write my mother letters. And I remember finding the letters in the drawer, in my mother's drawer. She had them underneath her something. I was looking for a scarf or something, and I saw the letters, and it said, "Dear Mom." And I was like, "Dear Mom? What the hell?" And it said, "Love your son, Jimmy Lee." So
26 years in prison for robbing a bank. How old was he when he robbed the bank?
He was probably like late teens, maybe early 20s, probably early 20s.
So they broke him. That's what they did to all Native Americans, man. They destroyed them. They fucking destroyed them.
And he was on.
And the destruction was complete.
And I think
all right, anyways.
Rikers Island,
so before him, who was the next one?
That would be CJ.
And how old was he?
30. Okay, he was born in 1942. He died in 79. He was 36 going on 37.
And how did he die?
It was on April 9th, 1979. My niece, usually CJ and his wife Carmen, who's still with us, she just turned 82, used to drive the girls to school. Like Kimberly went to Montessori school, very fancy school, and the other two went to like preschool or something like that, Stony Brook or whatever. So this particular day, I don't know what happened, but I guess the kids got a ride from one of the neighbors or something like that. So nobody was in the car except for Carmen and CJ. And a couple days before that, he was having like chest pains or whatever. And he did have a heart murmur, we later found out. But so he
what day did he die?
April 9th, the day before my birthday.
What's that? 4/9?
4/9/79. And I remember the day perfectly because when my brother and the girls and Carmen came down on April 8th, which was the Saturday before he died, the first thing I said was, "Oh, my birthday's not until for 2 days." And then that's when he handed me the Madame Alexander doll. That's why I want to keep that doll. But yeah, the Madame Alexander doll. And I was like, "Why are they here so soon? They always come on my birthday no matter what." And my mom said to CJ, she said, "You look tired, son. What's going on?" He's like, "Oh my, I'm going to school. I'm going to college full time. I'm teaching full time. I'm just kind of, feeling a little run down." And she's like, "Well, I think you should go see the doctor because you don't look good." She said, "You look frail and thin." So I was like, "Oh shit." Anyway, So fast forward to the next day, Carmen and CJ were on I-95 going to drop Carmen off at work, and then CJ was going up to New Britain College, and
What was your CJ's birthday?
Clarence Jasper Fogel Jr. was born on June 10th, 1942.
What sign is that?
Same sign as mommy.
6-10-4-2.
I think that's Cancer. It's either Gemini or Cancer. I think it's Cancer. So then they were on the highway, going to drop Carmen at work, and then all of a sudden, Carmen said he like slumped over the wheel, and they had a country Squire, a brand new country Squire, but it didn't have power steering. Imagine this. They're in the third lane. There's a 3-lane highway. Somehow my sister-in-law was able to get the car over to the shoulder, and then she said this off-duty EMT happened to be on the side of the road or happened to pull up behind them. She didn't know what happened. And he administered CPR. CJ looked at Carmen and said, "I love you, Carmen," and then he was gone. But there's some stuff going around, like Crawford was saying to me. She's been saying this to me over the years. She said, "I don't think my father is dead." She said, because of his ultra, what is that? Mensa intelligence. Crawford was saying that my father they were trying to groom him to be a part of the CIA. But he had an aortic aneurysm in front of my sister-in-law. Unless that's not true. But why would she do that to the girls? Why would she do that to her parents, especially his mother? To protect his secret.